As Commander-in-Chief, I will ensure America always has the strongest, most lethal fighting force in the world.
Oh boy, what a massive show that was. I just returned from a week in Chicago for the Democratic National Convention. I was on the ground live covering the protests, the rallies, and the DNC itself. I had an opportunity to speak with local organizers, with Palestinians in diaspora who've been living in Chicago and documenting what the diaspora community of Palestinians goes through every day. It was a life-changing experience, and I will be forever grateful to the people who I spoke with, to all of the organizers, and to even members of my community that showed up to show support for Palestinians in a broad array of issues. And I'm not going to forget it anytime soon. Mostly because it was underscored by the contrast between those on the ground that were fighting for their community and their family and those who were brat summering it up. Now, before I talk about the Kamala Harris speech that really is the pinnacle of the week, I want to talk to you a little bit about those protesters. On Monday, there was a protest, the March on DNC, where about 3,000 protesters gathered in Union Park and rallied together. Amy Goodman was there from Democracy Now!, Taylor Lorenz was there, Cornel West made an appearance, and a myriad of right-wing agitators from Jack Posobiec to Vivek Ramaswamy. Throughout the week, there was the daytime show, which was the Palestinian protesters out in the streets marching, calling for an end to the genocide, a ceasefire, and an embargo on Israel. That was the very simple demand made by those in America that don't want to participate in this genocide. And the DNC had a myriad of speakers throughout the week that would call for an immediate ceasefire, an exchange of hostages, bring the hostages home.
Because now is the time to get a hostage deal and a ceasefire deal done.
Never once was the onus on the state that's doing the occupation, the apartheid, the genocide. Not once did anyone put the responsibility on the U.S. or on Israel.
And let me be clear, I will always stand up for Israel's right to defend itself, and I will always ensure Israel has the ability to defend itself.
The uncommitted delegates from Michigan were denied a previously agreed upon speaking position on a pre-approved speech that is available online. You can look at it, and it's not asking for much. It's, I would say, less critical than I would be. I'm sure anyone could understand why reneging on a agreed upon speaking position would be a slap in the face, especially to those directly affected by the genocide. But the uncommitted delegates and supporters of them staged a sit-in overnight, sleeping on the cold hard pavement outside where the DNC was being held, while all the cheering fans that were going in and out of the DNC walked by, completely ignoring them. Now, before Kamala Harris took the stage, DNC decided that instead of the uncommitted delegates, they would have the CIA director, a Customs and Border Patrol chief, multiple Republicans, and a QAnon sheriff who was involved in the organization that the QAnon movie referenced, and was also sued by a private equity-owned telecom company to eliminate the ability for children to visit their parents in prison on the theory that the families would spend more money on monopoly calls. But his lawyers are arguing in court that children do not have a constitutional right to hug and visit their parents. That is who the Kamala Harris campaign and the DNC would rather have speak than elected delegates representing their constituents in a very important swing state of Michigan. And finally, we arrive at Kamala Harris's acceptance speech of the nomination. And it was very sleeper, it was very boring, until she got to the topic of immigration and the military, where, and I make no qualms about this, it was a fascist speech.
As Commander-in-Chief, I will ensure America always has the strongest, most lethal fighting force in the world.
That was the most anti-immigrant, American military expansionist speech I have ever heard from a Democrat. That was a straight-up George W. Bush style speech. Not a single word of an embargo, and once again puts the onus of a ceasefire on Palestinians. Kamala Harris could end this with a phone call. There are 3 words that the Israeli government fears more than anything. No more weapons. So until Kamala Harris decides to do that, I'll be here, covering it live every day on my Twitch channel on twitch.tv/Gremloe. Follow me on all my social medias at Gremloe, and I'll be posting these every week, giving you an update of the election and top news stories. And until then, this has been the Loedown.